Welcome back. As the state Supreme Court race takes on expanded importance this coming spring, we've heard on this show from Judge Jennifer Doro, that's a Scott Walker appointee who oversaw a high-profile murder case and now will run for the high court. Political reporter Will Keneally now sits down with one of her opponents. That's Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Janet Protasiewicz.
So first and foremost, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
I'm delighted to be here, actually. I really am. Thank you.
So I'm curious, for a person running for office, when did the switch flip for you? And you said, yes, I want to run for Supreme Court.
It's an interesting question. I talked to people about it in 2020 because I was interested in 2020 and then opted out. This year, I started talking with people in April. I met with Justice Rebecca Dallad, met with Judge Lisa Neubauer, talked to a number of people. And the difference between the seat that's coming up in 2023 is that this seat is so critically important. I was in a position where I could not sit on the sidelines and sit back and watch, in my opinion, extreme right-wing radicals win that seat. In my opinion, that would set the state back a century in time. And the people in the state of Wisconsin deserve so much better. So we started talking about the path to victory, what it looked like, the amount of work that it was going to take, an extreme amount of work, a year on the campaign trail. And so by the end of April, I had pretty much decided, yes, I was going to do it. And then the next thing, you have to put a big campaign team together and start working. And so I think it was probably the middle of May when we made the official announcement. But it was just too critically important of a seat for me to sit back and not do it.
So knowing you come from judgeship right now, what about your background do you want to take to higher office here?
I was in the district attorney's office for many years in Milwaukee. I was born and raised on the south side of Milwaukee, and I had one interest my entire life, and that was community service. Since the time I was very, very young, I worked for Congressman Clem Zablocki back when I was a teenager, worked for the League of Women Voters, and all I wanted to do was community service. Went to law school at Marquette, came out and decided I don't want to work at a big law firm. I want to work at the district attorney's office where I can help victims, help keep communities safe, protect families, protect children. That's what I really wanted to do. Then you get to a point in your career where you're going into court every day and you're asking judges to do things and you're making arguments and you say, I'd rather be making those decisions than going into court and asking every day for what I think is fair and appropriate under a set of circumstances. So I ran for judge. I've been reelected 2 times without opposition and have just been really enjoying that until this spring when I started to have some really serious conversations and really serious thoughts about what lies ahead for this state, this beautiful state that I love and that we live in. And it's interesting because I really like people. So when I started talking to Justice Dallad about this race, I said, I love people. I love this state. All I want to do is serve, and I want things to be fair. I think I have a common sense approach that perhaps other people don't have. I don't consider myself a real partisan. I'm somebody who's going to uphold the Constitution, who's going to follow the law, and every day do my best to get to the right decision by following the rule of law in these cases. Nothing predetermined, no plans to get to a predetermined outcome. My plan is to follow the rule of law every day.
So I was going to ask too, one of the things that we might see come up this next term is a redistricting case, right? And so I know judges don't like to, predetermine, but knowing that we see some of these contentious issues, also thinking back to some of the executive emergency powers with the COVID lockdowns, the court being at the center of that, how do you imagine, for example, one of those redistricting cases you would handle that, or what would go through your head as you see that case?
I think my values would go through my head when you get a case like that. When you realize Wisconsin's a pretty purple state, no matter what side you're on, Wisconsin's a purple state. In 2020, Governor Evers won by 1.1%. He won a little bit more this time, right? And you look at the breakdown in the state assembly, you look at the breakdown in the state senate, of how many seats are Republican and how many seats are Democrat in a purple state, how can it be fair? Right, it's not fair. So I think when you have values of fairness, you have a value that everybody's vote should count, that in a democracy, everybody should be heard, it resonates. So while I can't say how I would particularly vote on an issue, I can tell you those values would be brought into the Supreme Court chamber with me. Fairness, I really think the people of the state of Wisconsin deserve better. And not predetermining a result, but just looking at the fact that we're in a purple state and the numbers don't match up to that at all.
And so purpleness of Wisconsin, it bears out certainly where we have divided government. We have a governor of one party, legislature controlled by another party. You have the court sitting at the middle, certainly nonpartisan. How do you think the judiciary, the role of the judiciary should be in that divided government there?
Well, the judiciary should be nonpartisan. You should not be looking to get to a predetermined result.
Is there anybody on the court right now or any judicial thinker that you admire or you'd want to emulate on the bench?
I think the bench has many excellent thinkers, quite frankly. Justice Dallett, some of her decisions, brilliant. Justice Ann Walsh Bradley, brilliant. Justice Karofsky, I give her a lot of credit. You know, they don't always, like I said, vote or rule together. They call them as they see them, but they have really, really written some interesting, insightful decisions to guide people in this state.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.